He gave her money for the bus, not knowing she was a CEO millionaire, and fell madly in love with him. The first raindrops splattered onto the sidewalk just as Olivia Hayes let out a frustrated sigh. Could this day get any worse? She pulled open her bag for what felt like the 100th time, rummaging through its contents with growing desperation. Lipstick. A set of keys. A business card. No wallet. Her phone? Dead. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to compose herself. Olivia prided herself on being in control. Of her company, of her life. Of everything. But today, the universe had decided to test her patience. She had finished a high-profile investor meeting earlier in the day, and somewhere between getting in and out of the taxi, her wallet had disappeared. No credit cards, no cash. Now she was stranded at a bus stop, miles away from home, with no way to pay for her fare. And of course it had to start raining. She glanced up at the sky, exasperated. Really? A few feet away, Aiden Carter shifted his weight from one foot to the other, casually observing the woman's distress. She didn't belong here. Not in that sleek designer coat, not with those sharp, confident features that looked completely out of place at a grimy bus stop in the middle of downtown. Aiden had spent enough time in this city to recognize wealth when he saw it. What's a woman like her doing in a situation like this? He saw the way she exhaled sharply, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag, how her shoulders squared like she was preparing for battle. Clearly she wasn't the type to ask for help. And yet, need a hand. Olivia turned her head, startled by the deep, easy voice beside her. A man stood there, tall, lean, dressed in worn jeans and a plain black hoodie. His brown hair was slightly tousled, his blue eyes calm and observant. There was nothing particularly remarkable about him, except for the kindness in his gaze. Olivia hesitated. She cleared her throat. I lost my wallet. Aiden nodded like he had already figured that out. Got any friends nearby who can spot you? She swallowed her pride and admitted, my phone's dead. Aiden let out a low chuckle. Rough day? Olivia huffed. You have no idea. For a brief second, Aiden debated his options. He had exactly $4.75 in his pocket, just enough for one more ride home after his long shift. But this woman, a stranger, needed it more than he did right now. Without another word, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a couple of crumpled bills and some change, and held them out to her. Here, he said simply. Bus fare. Olivia blinked. She looked at the money, then back at him. She hesitated. People didn't just do things like this. Not in her world. She studied him, searching for any sign of an ulterior motive, but there was none, just quiet sincerity. Finally, Olivia let out a small breath and accepted the money. Thank you. Aiden shrugged. It's just a couple of bucks. But to Olivia, it was more than that. Let me pay you back, she offered, already making a mental note to track him down later. Aiden chuckled again, shaking his head. Don't worry about it. Just pass it on to someone else someday. That made her pause. He wasn't expecting anything in return. For some reason, that made her heart clench. Before she could say anything else, the bus pulled up. Olivia hesitated for half a second, then stepped on board. She turned back as the doors hissed shut. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw Aiden still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching the bus pull away. He had no idea. No idea that he had just given money to a woman who could have bought the entire bus company if she wanted to. And for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt something unexpected. She felt small. And for some strange reason she didn't mind. Olivia Hayes wasn't used to thinking about strangers after a single encounter. Her life was fast-paced, strategic, and meticulously planned. There was no room for distractions. And yet, as she sat in her penthouse office the next morning, reviewing proposals, her mind kept drifting back to the man from the bus stop. Aiden. There was something about him, something genuine. She had met countless men in suits, men who measured every word, who never said anything unless they had something to gain. But Aiden? He had given away his last few dollars without hesitation. Not because he expected anything in return, not because he knew who she was, but simply because he was kind. She sighed, shaking her head. Why was she even thinking about this? Her thoughts were interrupted by the intercom. Miss Hayes, her assistant's voice came through. The department heads are waiting for you in the conference room. Olivia exhaled, smoothing down her blazer. Time to focus. The conference room buzzed with the usual corporate energy, executives murmuring among themselves, the scent of fresh coffee lingering in the air. Olivia stepped in, her presence commanding instant attention. Conversations quieted. Heads turned. She took her seat at the head of the long, sleek table, nodding at the gathered department heads. But then, something caught her eye. A familiar figure standing at the far end of the room, near the maintenance panel. A man in navy blue work coveralls, casually adjusting a toolbox on the floor. Olivia's breath caught. Aiden. For a moment, she thought she was imagining it. But then, he looked up. Their eyes met. And nothing. No flicker of recognition. No shock. No realization that the woman he had helped last night was sitting at the head of the table. Aiden simply gave a polite nod, then returned to his task, as if she were just another executive in a building full of them. Olivia, on the other hand, felt like the air had been knocked out of her. For the rest of the meeting, Olivia was only half present. She went through the motions, listened to reports, approved proposals, but in the back of her mind, she kept replaying that moment. Aiden worked here? In her company? What were the odds? After the meeting ended, Olivia lingered for a moment, watching as Aiden packed up his tools and prepared to leave. She wasn't sure why, but something inside her didn't want to let this be the last time she saw him. Excuse me, she called out, keeping her voice steady. Aiden paused, glancing up. Yes, ma'am? Mom. Olivia almost laughed. If only he knew. She straightened. What's your name? Aiden hesitated before replying. Aiden Carter. Olivia nodded, as if hearing it for the first time. How long have you worked here? About a year, he said, adjusting his grip on his toolbox. Maintenance team. He seemed wary, like he wasn't used to high-level executives paying attention to people like him. Good, she said simply. I'll see you around, Aiden. She turned and walked out before she could overthink it. But as she strode down the hallway, she couldn't shake the tiny smile tugging at the corner of her lips. A week later, Olivia found herself unconsciously looking for Aiden whenever she passed through the building. She spotted him occasionally, fixing an overhead light, checking an HVAC unit, but he never once looked at her the way she looked at him, because to him she was just another executive. Then, one evening, as she was reviewing emails, something caught her attention. A complaint. Employee Aiden Carter. Issue: alleged insubordination. Olivia frowned, clicking into the report. According to the document, Aiden had challenged his supervisor, Mark Grayson, about unsafe working conditions. Her fingers curled slightly. Of course. She could already picture it, Aiden standing his ground, refusing to back down because he actually cared. She scrolled down. The recommended action? Suspension. Olivia's jaw tightened. Not happening. Within minutes, she drafted an email to HR. From CEO Olivia Hayes. Subject: Aiden Carter's review. I'd like to personally review the complaint regarding Aiden Carter before any action is taken. Until then, no disciplinary measures should be enforced. Olivia Hayes. She hit send. Aiden would never know. But that didn't matter. Because Olivia wasn't going to let a man like him be punished for doing the right thing. For the first time in a long time, Olivia found herself looking forward to small, seemingly unimportant moments in her day. Not high-stakes meetings. Not boardroom negotiations. Not investment pitches. But random encounters with Aiden Carter. It started subtly. She began taking the longer route to her office, just so she could pass by maintenance areas. She occasionally needed help with things she could have easily solved herself, like adjusting the temperature in her office or fixing a flickering light. And every time, Aiden would show up. At first, he was all business. Polite, reserved, unfazed. To him, she was just another corporate employee. But slowly, that changed. One afternoon, Olivia stood by the thermostat in her office, frowning. Damn thing's stuck again, she muttered just as Aiden walked by. He arched an eyebrow. You sure you didn't just press the wrong button? Olivia huffed, crossing her arms. I think I know how to work a thermostat. Aiden smirked, stepping inside. I dunno. You do look like someone who might overcomplicate things. Olivia bit back a smile as he effortlessly reset the system. There, he said. Now your high-powered corporate life can continue at the perfect temperature. She rolled her eyes. I'm forever in your debt. Aiden chuckled. I'll put it on your tab. And just like that, the wall between them started to crack. Over time, Olivia learned more about Aiden. How he worked 2 jobs just to cover rent. How he had once dreamed of being an engineer but never had the money for school. How he took care of his younger sister after their parents passed away. He never complained about his life, he just accepted it. Olivia found that both admirable and incredibly frustrating. She wanted to tell him he deserved more. She wanted to tell him that life didn't have to be this hard. But she knew Aiden wasn't the type to take handouts. So instead, she just listened. And somewhere along the way, she stopped thinking of him as just a guy from maintenance. One evening, Aiden was finishing up a late shift when he stepped outside for some air. That's when he saw her. Olivia, standing near the curb, speaking to a man in a sleek black suit. A moment later, a luxury car pulled up. Without hesitation, Olivia slid into the back seat. Aiden frowned. Something about it felt off. She had always blended in at work, dressed professionally but never flashy, never acting superior to anyone. But that car, that effortless confidence, it didn't add up. And for the first time, Aiden wondered who exactly was Olivia Hayes. The answer came the very next day. Aiden was fixing a vending machine when he overheard two employees talking in the break room. "Did you see Olivia's new interview?" one of them asked. "Oh yeah," the other said. "She's impressive as hell. Running a billion-dollar company at 30. Unreal." Aiden frowned. "Wait, what?" He turned his head slightly, pretending to focus on his work as the conversation continued. "She's way different from the usual CEOs," one of them continued. "No flashy announcements, no scandals. Just smart as hell and tough as nails." The other laughed. "Yeah, Olivia Hayes is a force of nature." Olivia Hayes. Aiden's grip on the vending machine tightened. His mind replayed every interaction they'd had, the casual conversations, the small moments. And then, the luxury car. The way she carried herself. She wasn't just another employee. She was the CEO. And all this time, he had no idea. Aiden had always considered himself a pretty good judge of character. But this caught him completely off guard. He had spent weeks getting to know Olivia, thinking she was just another employee, someone ambitious but down to earth, someone he could talk to without all the pretense that came with the corporate world. Now he knew the truth. She was the CEO, a billionaire, a woman so far removed from his reality that it was almost laughable. And the worst part? She had never told him. Aiden wasn't naive. He knew people in power rarely revealed their true selves, but Olivia had seemed different. Real? Had it all been a game to her? Had she been playing him this whole time, amused by the poor maintenance guy who didn't even know who he was talking to? Aiden didn't know. But one thing was clear, he needed to back off. The next time Olivia saw Aiden, she immediately sensed the difference. Gone was the easygoing smirk. Gone were the teasing remarks. Gone was the way he used to look at her, like she was just Olivia. Instead, his greetings were brief. His words were clipped. He never lingered in conversation anymore. At first, she thought maybe she was imagining it. But then it kept happening. Every time she tried to talk to him, he found an excuse to leave. Every time she ran into him, he refused to meet her eyes. And it hurt in a way Olivia hadn't expected. One evening, after yet another awkward interaction, Olivia found herself frustrated and restless. She had tried to be patient, to give him space, but enough was enough. So, instead of heading straight to her office, she took a detour, down to the lower floors, where the maintenance teams worked. She wasn't sure what she expected to find. But when she turned the corner, she saw Aiden. His back was to her, his shirt slightly damp from sweat, his hands deep inside the inner workings of a broken air conditioning unit. The room was hot, unbearably so, but he kept working, his jaw tight, his focus sharp. For a moment, Olivia just watched. This was who Aiden was. Hardworking, determined, stubborn. And yet, for all his strength, she could see the weight he carried. She could see it in the way his shoulders tensed, in the exhaustion lining his face. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Need a hand." Aiden stilled. Slowly, he turned his head, his blue eyes dark with something unreadable. "What are you doing here?" His voice was quieter than usual. Olivia hesitated before crouching beside him. "Just thought you could use some help." Aiden let out a short, humorless laugh. "Right, because the CEO of this company has time to fix air conditioners now?" Olivia flinched at the bitterness in his tone. "I'm still the same person, Aiden," she said softly. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "No, you're not." Olivia swallowed. "I never lied to you." "You didn't have to," Aiden muttered. "You just let me believe something that wasn't true." She wanted to argue, wanted to explain. But before she could, Aiden stood up, wiping his hands on his jeans. He looked at her then, really looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. And then, in a voice laced with quiet finality, he said, "We belong to two different worlds, Olivia." Then, without another word, he whirred away, leaving Olivia alone in the heat. Olivia Hayes wasn't the kind of woman who walked away from something she wanted. And right now, she wanted Aiden Carter to understand that his assumptions about her were wrong. She didn't care about his paycheck. She didn't care about the difference in their worlds. She didn't care about any of the barriers he kept putting between them. But Aiden? He refused to believe that. And Olivia was determined to change his mind. One afternoon, Olivia made her move. She walked into the maintenance office where Aiden was reviewing work orders and leaned casually against the doorframe. "Hey," she said. Aiden barely glanced up. "Hey?" She ignored his coldness. "I need to discuss something with you." "Over coffee." Aiden finally looked up, narrowing his eyes. "Coffee?" Olivia nodded. "Yeah. The drink people have when they need to talk." He studied her, clearly skeptical. After a long pause, he exhaled and muttered, "Fine." Victory. They sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, a world away from boardrooms and corporate politics. For the first time in weeks, Aiden wasn't completely closed off. He relaxed, if only a little. They talked, not about work, not about money, but about small, ordinary things. Movies, books, the city. And for a brief moment, Olivia let herself believe that things could go back to how they were before he found out the truth. That maybe, just maybe, they could be something more. But then, reality hit her. A few days later, Olivia was heading toward the parking garage when she heard Aiden's voice. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but something in his tone made her stop. "She's great, man," Aiden was saying, "but I won't be that guy." Another voice, likely one of his friends, replied, "What guy?" "The guy who dates a woman like Olivia Hayes and just," Aiden exhaled sharply, "spends his life being a footnote in her story." Olivia's stomach twisted. "I need to make something of myself first," Aiden continued. "I need to stand on my own. Otherwise, I'll just be some guy she helped out. And I can't live with that." A beat of silence. Then his friend said, "So what are you going to do?" Aiden's answer was quiet, but clear. "I'm going to let her go." Olivia felt numb. She could handle rejection. She could handle anger, distance, stubbornness. But this? Aiden didn't reject her because he didn't care. He rejected her because he didn't believe in what they could be. And that was something Olivia Hayes couldn't fight. So, for the first time in her life, she gave up. The next day, Olivia stopped looking for Aiden, stopped trying to change his mind. She let him go, even if it broke her heart. Aiden Carter had thought that walking away from Olivia Hayes was the right thing to do. He had told himself that their worlds were too different, that a relationship between them would never work, that she deserved someone who could stand beside her as an equal. But the moment she stopped trying, the moment she actually left, everything felt wrong. At first, he convinced himself it was just an adjustment period. But the days stretched into weeks, and the feeling never faded. Every morning he walked into work and felt her absence. No more unexpected run-ins. No more witty remarks. No more Olivia at all. And that was when it hit him. She had never been the problem. He was. Aiden had spent so much time thinking that Olivia saw him as less that he never realized. She never did. She had never pitied him, never looked down on him, never treated him as anything less than her equal. He had been the one who built the walls between them. He had been the one who refused to believe she could love him for who he was. He had been the one who pushed her away. And now she was gone. And it was his fault. One afternoon, Aiden was walking toward the building's exit when he saw her. Olivia, standing near the entrance, deep in conversation with a man in an expensive suit. The guy was tall, well-groomed, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that screamed money. Aiden froze. Something inside him twisted painfully as he watched them. Olivia laughed at something the guy said, her expression relaxed, her smile easy. And in that moment, Aiden realized she had moved on. His chest tightened. Had he really expected her to wait for him? Had he thought that just because he couldn't stop thinking about her, she was doing the same? She was Olivia Hayes, a woman who could have anyone. And clearly, she had found someone better. Aiden turned around and walked away before she could see him. But no matter how much distance he put between them, the pain followed him. Aidan threw himself into work, hoping it would be a distraction. It wasn't. He went out with friends, tried to meet new people. None of them were Olivia. Everywhere he went, he saw reminders of her. The cafe where they had once sat, pretending it was just a work discussion. The vending machine he had been fixing when he first realized who she really was. Even the damn bus stop where they had first met. And finally, Aidan couldn't take it anymore. He needed to fix this. He needed to tell Olivia the truth before it was too late. It was the night of Hayes Corporation's annual gala. A massive event. Hundreds of employees, investors, and VIPs gathered in an elegant ballroom. And Aidan had no business being there. Yet, here he was, standing in the crowd, scanning the room, his pulse pounding. Then, he saw her. Olivia stood near the stage, dressed in an elegant black gown, effortlessly poised as she spoke with a group of executives. She was breathtaking, and for the first time since he had met her, Aidan wasn't afraid anymore. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. People started noticing him, whispers rippling through the crowd. A maintenance worker crashing a CEO's event. Unheard of. But Aidan didn't care. He walked straight up to Olivia, stopping right in front of her. She blinked, startled. "Aidan?" For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, before he could lose his nerve, Aidan said, "I was wrong." The room went silent. Olivia stared at him, completely caught off guard. "What?" Aidan exhaled sharply, his voice firm but raw. "I was wrong to walk away. Wrong to think you deserved someone else. Wrong to believe that what we have doesn't matter." Olivia's breath hitched. Aidan took another step closer. "I don't care about our differences," he said. "I don't care about the money, the company, or what anyone else thinks." His blue eyes locked onto hers, unwavering. "The only thing I care about is you." Silence. Then, a slow, breathtaking smile spread across Olivia's lips. And just like that, the walls between them finally came crashing down. For the first time in weeks, Olivia Hayes felt something she thought she had lost, hope. Standing in front of Aidan, hearing his words, seeing the raw determination in his eyes, it was almost enough to make her believe again. Almost, because as much as she wanted to fall into his arms, to tell him she had been waiting for this moment, she couldn't ignore the fear lingering in the back of her mind. What if he regretted this later? What if months from now he resented her? What if this was just an impulse, a grand gesture fueled by emotions? She needed to be sure. She needed to know that he wouldn't walk away again. Olivia took a slow breath, composing herself. "Aidan," she started, her voice softer than usual. He stepped closer, waiting, hoping. She met his gaze. "If you really mean this, if you really want to be with me," she hesitated, then added, "prove it." Aidan's brows furrowed. "Prove it?" Olivia nodded. "You walked away because you felt like you weren't enough, that you needed to stand on your own before we could be together." He swallowed hard, remembering the words he had once spoken. She continued, "So if you truly believe in us, then show me. Show me that you're willing to fight for this, not just with words, but with action." Aidan stared at her for a moment, then nodded, understanding. He didn't argue. He didn't ask for shortcuts. He simply said, "I will." True to his word, Aidan didn't waste time. The very next day, he took the first step, enrolling in online business courses. He worked tirelessly, balancing his full-time job with studying late into the night. At first, it was overwhelming, but every time he thought about quitting, he reminded himself why he was doing this. For himself. For Olivia. For their future. And unbeknownst to him, Olivia was watching. Though they weren't officially together, Olivia never stopped caring. She subtly pulled some strings, nothing too obvious, nothing that would hurt his pride. A recommendation here. A small scholarship there. Little things that gave him opportunities he wouldn't have had before. But mostly she just waited. Waited to see if he would truly commit. Waited to see if this time Aidan wouldn't run. Throughout the months, Aidan and Olivia kept in touch. Texts. Occasional coffee meetups. Late-night conversations. There were no labels. No declarations of love. Just two people waiting for the right moment. And as time passed, Olivia began to realize. Aidan wasn't just proving himself to her. He was proving himself to himself. And that was when she knew. Maybe they still had a chance. The past year had been one of the hardest and most rewarding years of Aidan Carter's life. He had worked tirelessly, balancing his job while studying late into the night, pushing himself beyond limits he never thought he could reach. And now, standing in his own small but thriving tech maintenance company, he knew every sacrifice had been worth it. His business wasn't huge, not yet, but it was his. Built from the ground up with his own hands on his own terms. He was no longer just a maintenance worker in someone else's company. He was his own boss. And most importantly, he was finally ready. Ready to go after what his heart had always known. Ready to fight for Olivia. Aiden sat at his desk, staring at the small envelope in his hands. Inside was a bus ticket. The same kind of ticket he had once given Olivia all those months ago, when she had been stranded without money, lost in the rain. Only this time the ticket wasn't for her to get home. It was for her to come back to him. He took a deep breath, then scribbled a note on a small card before slipping it into the envelope. "I've changed, but one thing has never changed. I still love you." And with that, he sent it off. When Olivia Hayes received the envelope, she nearly dropped it. Her fingers trembled as she carefully pulled out the bus ticket and the note. Her breath caught. For a long moment, she just stared at the words. And then, before she could second-guess herself, she grabbed her coat and ran. The city was bustling as Olivia sprinted down the familiar streets, her pulse hammering in her ears. When she reached the bus stop, she saw him. Standing there, hands in his pockets, looking exactly the same, yet somehow completely different. He had grown. He had become the man he always wanted to be. But when he smiled at her, that same infuriating, familiar, heart-stopping smile, she knew he was still her Aiden. Still the man who had given her a few dollars for a bus fare, never knowing she was a millionaire. Still the man who had challenged her, frustrated her, and made her fall hopelessly in love. She didn't stop running. She didn't hesitate. She threw herself into his arms. Aiden caught her, holding her so tightly it felt like he was never letting go again. And this time, he wouldn't. As they stood there, wrapped in each other, the city kept moving around them. Cars honked, people rushed past. The world didn't stop. But for them, this was the only moment that mattered. Olivia pulled back slightly, looking up at him, her eyes shining. "You took long enough," she teased. Aiden chuckled. "Told you I don't give up easy." She smiled. "Good, because neither do I." And then, with the whole world bustling around them, she kissed him, sealing the promise they both already knew. This time, there were no more obstacles. No more doubts. No more distance. Just Olivia and Aiden. And Aiden. Together. Forever. Sometimes, love isn't about where you come from or what you have. It's about who you are and who you choose to fight for. Aiden and Olivia came from different worlds, but in the end, their hearts spoke the same language. Because true love doesn't care about status, wealth, or obstacles. It just finds a way. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. We bring you emotional, heartfelt stories that remind us of the power of love, resilience, and human connection. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that stirs your soul. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.